Hi everyone, this is Matt. Today I wanted to talk briefly about a trick that I use all the time when doing duct and pipe layouts. I've watched a lot of people do a lot of layouts lately, and one of the things that I've noticed is that they created a lot of extra views that they may not need. So I wanted to quickly show how this operates. So if you were to use a duct, pipe, conduit, or cable tray, it operates exactly the same. So the functionality I wanted to show is basically within this options bar here, and it's really just understanding the way that Revit wants to operate, inputting the parameters for a duct or a pipe. So we're going to go ahead and start a duct here at 0 elevation off of the floor. Often what you'll see is people do things like this, where they draw a horizontal run, and then when they need to make an offset here, they will do a section like this, open up the section, and then manipulate the view configuration to allow them to see a fine level of detail, and then adjust the crop box, and then they'll draw the duct off the end point and then come up 90 degrees. And one of the things that comes up with this is when you make that transition, sometimes you'll see that the width and the height in certain sections will actually swap. So if you were to try to draw a duct that would meet up with this, this can actually get flipped, and the width can become the height or the other dimension as well. So what I do instead of adding this additional view is I'll start my duct or my pipe at the original elevation. So we'll say width, height, and actually here's the exact issue that I'm talking about. When I originally drew this duct, I drew it as a width of 24 by 12. Then when I swapped into this section and I started to create the duct in that, what happened in Revit is that it actually switched the width and the height. So now when I go do another one in floor plan, I'm actually getting the invert of what I expected. So I'm going to have to go set this back and set this back to 12. And now if I start my duct, you see it's actually operating the way I want it now. So the trick is this. Let me reset here for a second. When I start drawing a duct, one of the things you guys may or may not notice is the options bar next to the width and height is the offset. And I'm going to set the offset at 0. And I'm going to go ahead and start my horizontal run. And you know how Revit operates, where it wants to continue to keep things connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to a 9-foot elevation, and I'm going to apply that change. And the apply is the key here. As soon as you hit apply, what it does is it forces a vertical offset. So it does exactly the same thing as us creating that additional section and then placing the duct, but it retains our width and height and makes sure that our reference level is actually set to the floor plan or the floor that we're working off of. So now I can go ahead and grab the endpoint of that vertical duct and create my horizontal run, go back around, and then maybe I come back around here, I do the same drop down back to 0 and apply that change, and now I've got a loop. So really actually a quick way to do this, because otherwise I'd be creating a section, doing that loop, coming back to the floor plan, moving the section over, doing the drop on the return here, and I can do all of that right off of the floor plan without ever changing a view. And just to kind of show you guys that this is actually operating the way I expect, if I was to look in a 3D view, you guys see here, this is that vertical offset we drew with the section. Here is the one we drew with our floor plan. So again, the trick here, just in case you guys really do want to use this, is any one of the MEP curves. You go ahead and set your size, set your original offset, and draw your first segment, and then you can come up and apply the change. One thing to note is that even if you've already created a duct or a pipe and you want to do this like straight up from this point right here, if you right click and start that MEP curve, you can go ahead and set that offset and hit apply, and it'll do the same thing on this end as well. All right, so hopefully that's useful. Have a good night.